I'm in Park City, Utah. That's the Cadillac Lyriq. I've been driving it all weekend, and if I've learned one thing, it's GM is here to compete. Alright, so I spent a lot more time driving the Lyriq today, and to be honest, I'm enjoying it. I mean, you guys know me, I love driving any EVs. That like much faster, stronger torque is super fun. I don't know if the Lyriq has the most torque out of any EV I've ever driven. It's not as punchy as I would have wanted to, even in sport mode. It's a little better there, but it reminds me a little bit of the Pt.II with its rigidity and how sort of solid it feels on the road. It feels a little bit sportier because of that, and of course the EV's low center of gravity because the floor is basically the Ultium battery. But it's like I said, it's just not the most fun electric vehicle driving experience I've ever had. It's very practical though. As I'm driving around, the Lyriq is big, there's lots of space inside for me and a passenger L from driving.ca, and honestly, it's hard to hate. If you were just like going on a tour in the country roads for an afternoon, this is a very leisurely vehicle to do it in. It's also super quiet in here, so it's got 5mm glass in most of the windows around the driver and the passenger. It's got active noise cancellation like a pair of AirPod Pros, which is pretty interesting. It's even got damped steel in the construction, which just overall helps everything feel very quiet inside. And to be honest, it might be my favorite thing so far. We're just driving through this like idyllic Utah Park City countryside, and it's really relaxing. A couple of modes in here. Canadians will be happy to know there's a snow and ice mode. There is also no eco mode, which seems like a miss in an EV, but there are a few considerations to take into account that kind of level that out. So there's a one pedal mode for any EV drivers with two sort of levels, a normal and a high. And specifically, there's a pedal. It feels kind of like a paddle shifter on the left of the steering wheel. I guess I shouldn't even call it a pedal, but it's a regen button. It's pressure sensitive, so the more you push, the more it slows you down. But instead of using the brakes, it uses the regenerative capacity of the motor slowing down to bring you to a stop instead. It's actually pretty interesting and a unique sort of innovation on the electric vehicle driving experience. Anyone that's sort of like missing manual cars or something, well, the Lyriq is not going to scratch that itch for you, but I could see this technology in other cars just adding a little more of an active driving experience, which can be a lot of fun. In terms of range, the Lyriq has 502 kilometers at its like max for this rear motor option. There is an all-wheel drive version that's coming, and I expect it to have a little bit of a shorter range, but GM hasn't really shared that thus far. In terms of horsepower, it's got 340 horses, which is pushing this car around enough, but it's very heavy and very big, which I think sort of takes away from that sporty feel that I was mentioning earlier. In terms of torque, it's 312?
325.
325, and I mean, that instant torque that you get from an EV off the line feels fun, but I'm not flying like I have been in other cars. This car does come with Cadillac and GM's Super Cruise, although it's not available to test right now. But when you do get your hands on one, if you plan to buy it, you will have that option. We just have some lane assistance features and some adaptive cruise control available to us today, and so far it's actually been working well, and some of this lane guidance has helped me take corners a little easier, which is just taking the fatigue out of driving, I guess, if you had to do it over a really long distance. So one of the most important aspects of the new Lyriq is its design. It's been built from the ground up as an EV, and it really does look stunning. This is a very recognizable grille, even if when it's lit up, it does look a tiny bit like a mustache. Out of everything, the shape and the style of the car is what's grown on me the most during my time with it. There are a few things I don't like though. The charger door is a bit clunky when it just drops down and goes up a lot better, but it's a bit strange that it's not as high-end as it needs to be for this $70,000 car. My other major gripe is with these door handles. While they may look like a traditional door handle shape, long and have this little bump at the end, they're just buttons that pops the door open that much, so then you can pull it open. It's a bit strange, and it's even stranger in the back where there is no little handle. You just kind of reach in behind the door and pull it open. It's fine, you get used to it, but like I said, for a $70,000 car with fake door handles, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, and there's one last thing we have to talk about as Canadians. All right, don't click away because that box actually has a pretty interesting gadget, and I'm gonna show you what it is. Let's see. This is Lomi, Lomi, I'm not sure, but it's made by Pt.II, the same company that makes all the cases that have been sponsoring our videos, and I think it's the world's smartest composter. Let's test it out. All right, let's set this thing up. That really takes up any space at all. Which I think should be enough. We'll see this bad boy in 20 hours. All right, let's check on this and see how it went. But yeah, that's how easy it is. You basically just throw compost in, it spins overnight or for a few hours depending on how much stuff is in there, and you get dirt you can just throw in your garden, and it's gonna be like super nutrient rich. If you want to get your own Lomi, you can head over to pela.earth, that's PELA.earth, or check out the link in the description. All right, back to the video. Moving around to the rear end, the shape is really nice. It's not quite a fastback design, but this slant makes it feel like a sportier sports car. Inside, it actually reminds me of the size of the BMW iX, but from the outside, I'm getting Pt.II vibes, which is definitely a good thing. So far, I'm a big fan of the taillights and the headlights. These like kind of bars coming all the way down and stretching across in increments. Looks cool when you're turning, and even the lit up Cadillac sign looks pretty awesome once you're actually using it. Oh, I should also mention that these are the 22-inch wheels, so standard it's gonna come with 20-inch wheels, which will look a little smaller on the body. The strangest thing about this fastback design though is GM says that because this car is so aerodynamic, the wind will just push any distractions, any water, any dirt off of the rear windshield. It's also on quite a slant, but there's no wiper. So if it gets dirty, you're gonna have to clean it off or hope that GM and Cadillac are right and that it's actually not gonna get that dirty in day-to-day use. We've been driving this one all day and it's a little dusty, but I wouldn't call it dirty at all. So maybe they're right. If you do wanna buy one, I would wait until after the spring just to see how it handles a Canadian winter, and specifically all that muddy slush that really builds up on the back windows of some other cars. So the tech nerds in here will be excited to learn that this Cadillac is actually the first General Motors vehicle that I'm aware of that's actually built using Android Automotive as the backbone for the infotainment system. Don't worry, you can still access traditional phone-based Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but you might not have to because like the Pt.II or the Volvo, well, just modern Volvos, you can access Google Maps, Spotify, the Google Play Store, Google Assistant, and a bunch of other like traditional phone apps right from the dashboard of the car. I really like the design that Cadillac has here today, but I think they were saying that that's going to change by production to get a little more Cadillac styling involved. That being said, the sort of minimal dark navy blue with like stark white icons that they're using in the sort of version that we're testing is really nice and has like a more of a modern touch than I've come to expect from GM's infotainment. Another thing that the nerds might appreciate is GM's actually using Unreal Engine in this car. When you're in the menus looking at like the massage seats or the car or anything that has like a 3D render of the product that it's referencing in the menu, it's actually made in Unreal Engine and you can like move it around and it actually looks really nice. When you're in the home screen of the infotainment, while the final product might look a tad bit different, I think the layout is going to remain the same, which I like. It's multiple big apps. Their iconography is modern, like I said, but it's not entirely consistent with some of the Google apps having more filled in icons while other ones are outlined. Hopefully that will change, but for now, it's whatever. It's cool though, because like your mobile phone, you can move the icons around so you can customize it to be however you want. Also, like your phone, there's an app dock. I forget what Cadillac is exactly calling it, but there's a small section below the infotainment where you can go quickly to home, quickly to your music, quickly to CarPlay, and quickly to drive modes. And I believe there was another mode that's going to be in there by default when it launches, but for now it's just those, plus whatever apps you choose to add to that dock. It also uses some ambient like intelligence to sort of discover what you're doing and when. So earlier we opened the back door and it suggested, do you want to turn the lights on because it looks like you might be looking for something. There are other things that it will do based on like what you're doing, and I find that pretty interesting. How well it will actually work in practice still remains to be seen. Oh yeah, the last thing I should mention about the infotainment before I get into the sort of instrument cluster side is that GM actually uses a custom display. It's not a square rectangle in some sort of rounded frame. The display actually curves off at the edges. It's really interesting to look at when you're using GM's Android Auto-based infotainment. That being said, when you open up traditional Apple CarPlay, it's like windowed within the display in kind of a strange way, and it's not quite, maybe it's centered, it's hard to tell with all the sort of angles that the screen moves as it curves and slants off, but it's a bit of a weird one there. I don't know how they would exactly overcome it without Apple drastically changing how CarPlay works, which might be coming in the future, but for now, it's just kind of a weird workaround to fit it in, I guess. The screen also has nice colors and a decent refresh rate. It's not as laggy as my old Jetta screen, so that's always nice to see, and it's bright even in direct daylight like right now. I forgot to mention about the interiors are there's speakers in the headrests. The entire speaker system is tuned by AKG, and it sounds pretty good. Wait, how do I get it in drive? And it sounds pretty good, but I'm not super sold by the in-headrest speakers. I feel like I can barely hear them, so it's a bit strange. Still, unique addition nonetheless. Moving back to sort of like talking about internal design, the back seat is actually very roomy as well. There's no exhaust tunnel on the floor, so even if you're in the middle, at least your legs aren't hugged up against your chest, which should make for a bit more of a comfortable driving experience for passengers. The seats are also very comfy. There's tons of space, tons of headroom. I haven't felt claustrophobic in this car at just about around 6 feet, so probably big enough for most people. In the back, there are 2 USB-C ports and an actual 120-volt plug that you would find in your home. Oh, another cool thing, this has been in other GM vehicles before, but the rear view camera is actually in the mirror, which is really fun, and I think that's a pretty smart place to put it. Wait, double check. Recording. All right, so it's 6:30 a.m. on day 3. I've returned to Lyriq. I'm out searching for my lost GoPro that I lost like 2 days ago, and I thought I'd just fill you guys in with some of the things that I didn't fit into my script earlier. Just some things that I like about the car. So one of my favorite things that they talked about during the first presentation was the heat pump management system that uses the battery's heat to heat the cockpit of the car to help save on efficiency, which I thought was a really cool technique. It also works vice versa, from using the heat of the car to heat of the battery or the cool, and it's like, so basically the two systems are connected, the battery and the cockpit, and they can exchange air to help keep each other appropriately temperatured. The Lyriq also comes with a 120 volt charger and an adapter for that will also work on 240 volts. I believe it's NEMA 1450, but it's the one with the straight plug. I'll throw a picture up of it right here. Another small thing, and this is a bit of a small thing, but I know like gamers might like it, but there's RGB, 27 different colors in the car, and you can set different colors for the upper RGB and the lower RGB, so that's kind of a cool twist that I think people will really enjoy when they get their hands on with it. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention is that the car charges at a peak rate about 190 kilowatts. I don't think it holds this peak rate for very long, so it's not going to charge as fast as like a Taycan or even the Ioniq 5, but it's still going to be above that sort of charging average that we're used to. I think overall, when it comes down to like brass tacks, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the Lyriq. I think it hits Cadillac's target demographic pretty squarely, and I think its customers are going to be very satisfied with the new car. It's really, really well designed on the outside. The interior is also well implemented. Some of the materials could be a little better, but overall, I would be pretty happy driving around in it day to day. Sure, I wish there was a little more EV punch, but it's still more torque than a traditional ICE vehicle in most cases, and I mean, that's pretty fun to drive. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, what's your favorite EV? What would you buy if you had to buy something right now? And holy sh**. Here's half of it. Oh my god. Here. Oh my god, I cannot believe it. The bottom is like ripped off. The battery is missing. The SD card is in there. Woo! Okay. Where's the battery, baby? Where's that battery door? Okay, that's gonna be a lot harder to find. Oh my god. Woo! I'm so excited. This is insane. Oh my goodness, the battery! I'm getting the battery door probably. Okay, I'm filming this on the GoPro. New conclusion, never stop dreaming. I'll see you guys in Canada, and I really do love you all. All right, I gotta go. I am
too hype.